Hi, everyone. It's Jonathan, ready to bring you another devotional thought from the book of Psalms for all of our church family at First Baptist and for anybody else who's watching this now. So grab a seat, get somewhere comfortable, grab a cup of coffee. And I want us to just think today quickly about something that is inevitable for all of us that might be a little bit sad, but I think that ultimately is very helpful for us to think about. And that is that our days are numbered on earth. Our time to die will come. There will be a time for all of us that we will die, and as the New Testament says, we will face God. We will go and meet Him, and everybody will do that. There will come an end. And if you don't know Jesus, that's something that's really sad. And the world has reflected a lot on that. If you read things like Shakespeare, and I love the poem by Dylan Thomas, Do Not Go Gentle into That Good Night. He is wrestling with the reality that life is short and feels meaningless, and death just comes. And um, he even says, good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. You feel that kind of regret. Rage, rage against the dying of the light, that there's going to come an end. Well, the good news is that the Bible offers us hope that there is actual, real, rock solid hope that comes from knowing who God is and knowing what comes after this life. So let's look at Psalm 90 because I was just hit by this the other day as I was reading it, and I think that it really does address this issue. So let's read Psalm 90 verse 1. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever, you had formed the earth and the world. From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You return man to dust and say, return, O children of man. For 1,000 years in your sight are but as yesterday when it is past, or as a watch in the night. You sweep them away as with a flood. They are like a dream, like grass that is renewed in the morning. In the morning it flourishes and is renewed. In the evening it fades and withers. For we are brought to an end by your anger. By your wrath we are dismayed. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your presence. For all our days pass away under your wrath. We bring our years to an end like a sigh. The years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength, 80. Yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone, and we fly away. Who considers the power of your anger and your wrath according to the fear of you? So, teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom. Return, O Lord. How long? Have pity on your servants. Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad for as many days as you have afflicted us, and for as many years as we have seen evil. Let your work be shown to your servants, and your glorious power to their children. Let the favor of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish the work of our hands upon us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. And this psalm is attributed to Moses. We don't exactly know what is going on during the time when he authored this psalm, but he's obviously struck with a few things. He is just faced with the fact that life is short. And it's reminiscent of the book of Ecclesiastes that I'm sure a lot of you have read, that talks a lot about how life is unpredictable. It's short. It's like a vapor. It's here one minute and gone the next. And at the end of the day, Ecclesiastes is just kind of reminding us, enjoy the life God has given to you because you don't know how long you'll have it. So Psalm 90 sounds very similar. But did you notice how many references to time there are in this psalm? He even says in all generations in verse 1, or before the mountains were brought forth, so before the world was created, verse 2, that from everlasting to everlasting, he is God. So that means forever, eternally, he is God. He even says in verse 4, for 1,000 years in your sight. In verse 9, all our days pass away. And then verse 10 talks about life expectancy, that we usually live about 70 or maybe 80 years, which is actually still true. Ironically, the Bible's true, believe it or not. And it just is filled with all of these references to time. And so what are we to do? What are we to do when we're thinking about how the fact that God is eternal and our life is short? And I think the psalmist here, Moses, gives us two things to do. The first is in verse 12. He says, teach us to number our days. I think this means teach us to remember and to be reminded continually that our time is short. So what that means is we can be thankful for the life that God has given us, but we don't see our lives as the ultimate thing that, like, if it's taken away, we're done for. It's true, our lives could be taken away, but with Jesus, with the hope that God offers after death of eternal life, our lives can be taken away, and it's not the end. And he says that when we do that, when we realize that life is a gift, we get a heart of wisdom. And the second thing I think that he says that we should do in kind of light of this is we should rejoice and be glad all our days in verse 14. He says, if we are satisfied in the morning with God's steadfast love, then the result, or that, we will then rejoice and be glad all our days. Now, I'm not saying everybody, is just going to dance around in a field with bunnies because they're just so happy all the time. But I do think that gratitude and thankfulness for the life that God has given you produces joy. Just knowing that your life is a gift. 1 Corinthians 4:7 says, what do you have that you did not receive? Meaning you've received everything as a gift. Your life is a gift. So if you've received everything as a gift, if God holds your days, if God has been God from everlasting to everlasting, I just want to encourage us. Let's number our days, knowing that what we do here matters, and knowing that there is real hope, that this life is not all that there is. And I know in a time like we're in right now with quarantine and potential fear, I think this is a good reminder that God does know how long our days are. And God is a God who is good and who is in control and will guide and lead us all of our days. So I pray that's encouraging to you. Thank you all for watching this. Until next time, take care.